and it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists right now. We first welcome Senior Vice President of Financial Planning and Analysis at BJ's Wholesale Club, Sharon Schuler. We've got the CEO from Shaco, Alex Otanez, and we welcome Heramb Dandekar, Global Head, User Experience Design at Whirlpool. Give them a round of applause, everybody. Come on up, yep. Anywhere you like, okay. Anywhere you like. All right. A little hype music there for everybody. Get us all excited for our panel discussion. Thank you so much for our panelists agreeing to come up and share what you know and all that good stuff. Sharon, I'm going to start with you. I'd love for you to just give an introduction of yourself. Tell us a little bit more about you and your role at BJ's Wholesale Club.
Sure. So first of all, BJ's, I don't know if everybody knows BJ's. They're actually based here in Massachusetts. We're a wholesale club, primarily East Coast into the Midwest. Have over 240 locations and are hitting about $20 billion in revenue. My role is actually all budgeting, forecasting, analytics for the business. I do everything from sales all the way through the P&L. I have a team exclusively dedicated to supporting our Omni business as well, so very heavily into the data for digital and how it affects our consumer.
Great to have you on board with us, Sharon. Looking forward to hearing more from you and your journey at BJ's Wholesale Club. I want to welcome Alex from Shaco to the main stage. Alex, please give us an introduction on yourself.
Hi, Sam. Alex Otanez. I'm the CEO at Shaco. We've been around for about 15 years. We've worked with roughly 10% of Fortune 500s over that period of time. We specialize in creating digital experiences, design and create digital experiences for these Fortune 500s. So from immersive to conversational to app and web.
And Alex is one of our solution providers, so you may have a meeting with Alex in the next day or two. And Alex, we appreciate you coming up here for our panel. And last but not least, Heramb from Whirlpool. Let's hear a little bit more about you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this wonderful event. I'm the Global Head of User Experience at Whirlpool Corporation, and my team's focus is supporting our end users. So our users are paying, good money for their appliances and buying their products. How do we make sure that we're looking out for their best interest, supporting them when something breaks or they have to call service or whatever those journey touch points are in the consumer experience journey, making sure we're the advocates of our users, because quite often CX is looked at from a corporation standpoint, and we have to make sure the end user is taken care of.
Great to have you all on board with us. Thanks so much. All right, Sharon, I'm going to come back over to you. We had a speaker briefing chat, and we were talking a lot about what's happening in your space. And one of the things that we had a really good discussion on, and I'm looking forward to you sharing this, is the adoption by users within BJ's of your app and all the great things that are happening with that. So please take it from there. I want you to explain what's going on and some of the challenges you've solved along the way and some of those challenges you're still looking to solve.
Yeah, so obviously, if you've shopped a big club, it's good on savings, not always the easiest thing to shop, right? It's big warehouse space, there's no shopping bags, right? Big size packs. So the way we've tried to disrupt that is through some of our digital abilities. And one of them is the app. It's my favorite thing that we have, so you have to check it out. So it's not only just a regular BJ's app that you can order and see what products online, but the best part of it is you can actually use it in our clubs as a shopping tool. So as long as you're spending less than $750 and buying less than 20 items, you can actually scan the product as you put it into your cart, and you can completely check out on the app. If there's coupons associated as well with any of the items that you bought, you can clip the coupon. It'll even tell you, hey, there's a coupon, clip it. And so when you check out, I don't know if you've ever been in the clubs, usually the checkout line is very long, even if you're doing self-checkout. So this way you actually check out on the app, you actually get a QR code that pops up, you immediately go to the exit, bypass all of those terminals, right? And so when you get to the door, we have an associate who will scan it as opposed to you showing your receipt. And they'll be prompted to scan a few items in your cart, and you go on your way. It's honestly by far one of our best advantages I think we have in the marketplace right now. And so obviously our goal is to try and get users to use more of that. What I will say about our digital consumer is we know that they shop almost twice as often as someone who just shops in club. We know that they also renew their membership more frequently, and they also skew younger. So all of those things make us really interested in getting more adoption onto the digital platforms.
Sharon, I want to back up for a moment because you were saying the app is one of your favorite things. Talk to us a little bit about when you started implementing the app, why you started implementing the app. Were you hearing from consumers that were like, we need, some
Yeah, I would
transformation?
say really COVID was so disruptive, right? At that time, it was really requiring us to think differently of how we needed to interact with our customers. So people wanted to shop less, right? They didn't want to come into the locations. So we actually rolled a few things out aside from the app. At the same time, we also rolled out buy online, pick up in club. So similar to a Target experience, you can just pull up into a spot, we bring your stuff out. You can have it shipped to home. We also rolled out same-day delivery. So you can get product within 2 hours, typically, from our locations. So that, along with the app, was pretty much rolled out around the same time frame.
And that rollout, talk about that, because I know during COVID we were forced to adopt quickly.
Yeah.
We were forced to adapt to this
Yeah.
quickly because it was a necessity. Was that where you were coming from in that perspective?
It definitely was. A lot of those features were all rolled out at the same time because we knew we had to get different ways for customers to be able to shop. We even added where you can shop through Instacart and DoorDash as well. So all those features together were combined. The app itself, I will say, what I described to you is what we refer to as Express Pay, right, for you to actually shop and check out. We only right now see about 3% of our revenue come through that method. So the ability for us to add, I mean, there's just so much availability of when we can get more consumers to use it. I think it's awareness, to be honest. I think a lot of our customers tend to skew older. They're over 50. And so getting people to download the app ahead of time, right, because you don't want to be in the club necessarily doing it on the fly. So that adoption is going to be critical for us to try and drive that forward. Yeah.
I'm going to come back to you about this topic about adoption in a moment, but I want to jump over to Heramb. And Heramb, I want to have you give us an overview, just like Sharon did, about maybe some of those challenges you've been trying to solve for Whirlpool as far as your consumers are, whether it's an app or seamless experiences. What's happening for you?
Absolutely. We call it Consumer 360, and what that includes is for our users to be able to sort of make their portals and make their, register their accounts on the website. When the product is delivered to their home, there's an onboarding process for them to download the app and then pair your app to the product. And now your app is connected to the cloud, and so is the web portal. So now we have a connected ecosystem that can learn from their behaviors and support them and give them a personalized sort of experience. This sounds great in theory, right? But as we heard from your experience, Sharon, the consumer experience journey and the experience that we're designing for has to be congruent with the natural human behavior. If they're not weaved into that same natural behavior, it's really hard for people to adapt a new flow, a new journey, right? When something is installed by somebody else, it's not like buying a Nest where you're unboxing it and you're pairing it. That's when, downloading the Nest app and connecting the Nest thermostat with your app might be more natural to the users because, that's sort of a part of that process. But if you have an appliance that's been installed by somebody else, it doesn't, come across as a natural process for our users. So this is the kind of difficulty that we face in terms of how do we make sure that there is an incentive for our customers to actually download the app, connect, register, and then there's a two-way street, right? They get a benefit, we get a benefit.
Right. I'm imagining, though, it's different for Sharon's app with users who could use this once a week, once a month, compared to those coming to Whirlpool for appliances. Are you finding that the adoption is different because, I'm going to use this app one time, I'm going to order all my appliances, and I should be good for a few years?
Absolutely. Frequency of use is huge. So our app is not only a consumer app where you can go and shop, but the interaction with your product. So for example, if you have a wall oven that's connected and you have an app downloaded, you can preheat your wall oven while you're on the way home, right? So it's ready for you. So it's actually for your daily interaction as well. But again, because of just what people are used to, their mental models, people don't use apps to connect with their wall ovens or their washing machines. There has to be a valuable benefit for them to really do that. Wall ovens, actually, that example of preheating is pretty well used, but we have a connected washing machine as well. But it doesn't really provide much of a incentive other than just beeping when it's done, and you get a notification versus the chime, right? But I think there is valuable features that we can bring to the table, and that's what we're working on for the last couple of years, is how do we make sure that we are actually establishing that two-way street, and it's not just the corporation trying to get everybody online, learn from them, and then sell better.
Alex, I want to come over to you and get your thoughts because I'm sure you are going to be having conversations with a lot of people in this room and in your daily conversations about app adoption and those seamless experiences. What are you seeing at Shaco? What's happening?
I think to Sharon's point, during COVID, adoption just skyrocketed for all sorts of digital engagements. And I think we really saw two different types of customers. We saw leaders and laggards, leaders going into COVID and laggards coming into COVID. And I think leaders today were essentially able to get through COVID incredibly well, right? They already had buy online, pick up in store. They had a lot of functionality within their application. And laggards were, I think in some cases, were forced to be a little more creative, right? They had to build on and bolt on a lot of these components during COVID to really meet the demands of consumers. I think the second thing that we're starting to see is, 4 years out of COVID now? Yeah, 4 years out of COVID. People are essentially everywhere now, and they expect to be met everywhere, to your point, right? Like sometimes I'm at home, sometimes I'm in the car, sometimes I'm at work, and I want to be able to connect with those brands on essentially my time when I want. I think when we work with retailers or we don't work with BJs, but in the case of stores like that, we draw radiuses, right? What do I do when I'm in the store? What do I do when I'm driving by or around the store? And what do I do when I'm home? And whether it's an application, a website, or an immersive experience, we need to create those experiences to meet those retailers where they are. I think one framework that I think is really helpful for us and our clients is it's a Google framework called HEART. It's happiness, engagement, attraction, retention, and task completion. So are users happy with the application? Like, do they like it? Like, do they like logging onto it? Is there engagement? Like, do they come back? Do they come back to it? Like, is there true engagement within the application? Attraction, are they downloading new features? Are they using new features? Retention, again, coming back. Are they sharing it with friends? Are they sharing it with family? And then task completion is, are they getting the things they need to get done? Like, is the application functional? The final thing that we add to that, and this is kind of like the final point that we were talking about with these guys before we came in here, is does it represent your brand? I think so many people are complacent with a white labeled solution. They slap a brand on it and they're like, okay, great, we're digital. And what we're starting to see now is consumers want a brand that they could relate to in the store as well as in that digital space, right? It needs to be unique. And I think what you guys are doing is awesome because you go into a store and there's a certain experience that I expect at that store. And if I don't get it on the application, then it's just another simple application. And that's probably why you're so excited, because it really reflects what happens in the store. And when you go into these shopping behaviors like in BJ's, like you just want to like get your products, move out, and I mean you're not buying 20,000 things. You're buying 30 or 40, I mean probably, right? Less than 700. Right. So in my experience, I think that's 3 products. No, I'm kidding. but yeah, I mean you have it in your cart, it's simple, and you check out, so it represents that physical experience, which is what we encourage our clients to do.
Yeah. Sharon, I want to come back to you, and we were having a conversation about how you'll go into the store, people are using the app, and they're still standing in the checkout line that's, 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long. So there's obviously an adaptability challenge. Yeah. What are you seeing, and what are you working on to change that?
I mean, we've tried to push out, obviously, communication to customers. We also have tried signage in the clubs, right? So you'd walk in, there's a sign that says try Express Pay. You would think that would be the most logical thing, especially too during the close to the checkout area, we even have signs. There are some clubs, we even have a special routing, right, where it says express, so you bypass the checkouts. Like, so you'd think people would be like, why are those people walking out and not having to stop? But I feel like there's still this barrier in some cases. I mean, my kids hate shopping with me because I always just want to stop and talk to all the customers and tell them to download the app. They're like, don't do it. Because I can see people with only a few items in their cart, and they're going to be standing in this line for 10 or 15 minutes. So it's something that we're constantly trying to think of different ways to try and get people to adopt it, but it's slow going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll take any ideas on awareness sharing,
Yes.
right? Because that's probably something a lot of people in this
Yeah.
room are dealing with, is the awareness. Alex, maybe I could come to you and ask you a little bit about that awareness factor. I mean, how are you seeing organizations get over that hurdle, even when there are giant signs in front of people saying, you don't have to stand in this line if you just use the app?
You can't.
Embracing change, right?
I mean, I think
change is hard.
I nod my head because I've been in this situation where you're doing like user testing on site with clients, and you're like, there's a big red sign that says use the application, you'll save 30 minutes, and people just stand in line. I think for us, it's literally about these drawing circles about where people experience certain situations. And creating an application that does just that. And so if we're talking about essentially flow direction or flow management, then we want to essentially draw that circle around the experience at the park, the experience at the store, the experience at the retailer. And it's not just about the application, but about all the physical surroundings that they have, right? So it's about making sure these store associates know that there's an application. A lot of times that associate training is a second thought. Like, people don't really think about it. So having them trained as well as anybody else is really important. I mean, in the case of you guys, right, the installer is probably trained on the application as well. So that's really, really important. The second thing is being able to access the application. So in certain retailers, it's hard to get Wi-Fi, so you don't have connectivity. So do you offer that Wi-Fi service so people could actually access the application? So it's really about drawing that circle about where you want to focus that experience and making sure that the physical aspects of that experience are working congruently with the application itself, right? So Wi-Fi, training, awareness, and I mean, there's more things that we could get into, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. Like, the experience that you have at home is not the same experience that you have at the store.
Yeah. I mean, how many of you used digital ID when you got to the airport today? A few of you, right? Yep, there we go. A couple of you. We've been hearing about digital ID, I think, for almost 2 years now. I'm in a plane every week, and so when I get to LaGuardia Airport in New York City, which, as you know, can be a bit crowded, they now have time frames on each of the lines that you're going in. And I have everything. I have TSA, I have Clear, I have pre-check, all of that. And a lot of times I would say, okay, the Sky Miles line for Delta is the quickest one. And I'd ask the agents, which one's the quickest one? And they'd say the Sky Miles one. I just have to take off my shoes. Okay, I'm going to go. But now that digital ID line is right next to that long TSA pre-check and Clear line. And I go right in, and it says 5 minutes through. But people are like, how are you? They'll ask me, why are you? And I'm like, digital ID? You got it, it's right there. So it's out there. But I can see how awareness can be.
I think Charlotte has one, and they don't advertise it as well, and it is fantastic.
Absolutely,
Only a few people know about it, and you're
yes, absolutely. If you haven't gotten your digital IDs ready, next time you head to the airport, make sure you got it, because it's a huge time saver, huge times. Whereas TSA and Clear used to be the time saver, now everybody's got that, so it's not so much of a time saver. Heramb, let's come over to you and talk to you a bit about the adoptability. You were mentioning, with the apps and getting people to, hey, I'm gonna light the oven while I'm on my way home, so it's ready for me when I get there. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I want to touch on a couple of these topics here too. I think it all comes down to people's mental state and psychologically, what are they thinking when they're going to the store, for example. I haven't done any research on how people behave, but I'm even wondering, if I'm alone going to BJ's or Costco, I mean, when I'm in line, I'm on my phone, right? I'm browsing through stuff or reading or responding to emails and just slowly progressing forwards. So I'm even wondering if people are even in the right mindset to look up for the red sign. And it all comes down to, how do we make sure that we are sort of meeting them where they expect us, right? Is it, to your point, the associates, right? Are they able to gently nudge you in a way, or there are app clips that you can sort of start, I mean, from a technology standpoint, there are some things we can start doing at your racks where the products are displayed. Perhaps there's a logo there where you tap your phone, and it shows you a little 15-second video on how this new process works. So there's some of these new features that have been launched by the big tech that we can take advantage of. And every industry is going to be different with adoption, for sure. I mean, automotive, consumer electronics is going to be pretty fast, mobile as well as consumer electronics. Appliance industry lags. Retail is further lagging as well, I believe. A simple example, like automotive is somewhere in the middle, right? And I've spent majority of my career in automotive at Ford and Stellantis. And even today, most of the Android users are not aware that their cars have Android Auto. Connect your phone, and your phone is projected, and you have a simple interface that you're familiar with. They don't use it. Mm-hmm. And the data is like 65% of the users don't connect it, even though their car has that feature. And there's many features in cars that people just don't use because they're just not aware of it. They paid for it, but they're just not aware.
Right.
They don't use it.
Yeah. Adoptability, still a big challenge. Sharon, let me come back over to you and talk a little bit about maybe how how are you using data from your consumers, and maybe some of the things that you're using that data for that you're excited about to get this out to BJ's customers.
Yeah. So definitely using the data a lot, right? So if you think of it, we're a membership club, so we have really good data on our consumers. We're not guessing who's going to walk in the door.
Right.
We know them, right? We know how frequently they shop. We know who their families are. So we have a lot of information on the demographics. So being able to get people to be shopping digitally as well certainly gives us even more insight, right, into frequency. We can push down information better. I'd love some of the information we heard on the AI on how to, even perfect some of that personalization to that customer. That's something that we're really focused on. So that type of work is just continuing, and it's really on our docket for this year.
And the AI journey on your docket.
Yes.
What are you hoping to use AI for? How are you hoping to?
Yeah, we have a really interesting thing that we're rolling out. So we've rolled out robots in all of our clubs last year. So if you go into them, they're named Tally. They've got little googly eyes, so they look friendly. But they're actually going up and down the aisles, and they're scanning for product to make sure stuff's not out of stock. It's also checking for pricing. But the other thing it's doing is it knows that club location, and it knows where all the product is. And we are actually digesting all of that data and using AI to actually inform our associates on how to pick the orders. So as I mentioned, right, you can order through DoorDash, and you can order online and have it delivered. We have our employees who are actually picking those products. So it's actually telling that associate what is the right path to go, the most efficient path to pick the product. And it can also bundle orders that are similar, so they can pick multiple orders at the same time. So think of how much more that could streamline and make it more efficient and make sure that you get your orders as quick as possible. So.
Are the customers able to interact with the robots right now?
Not really.
Okay.
I think there is an intention over time to go that direction where you could maybe ask it where something was.
Which aisle?
Right, like what aisle. We're not quite to that yet.
Yeah.
But it is taking pictures as well, and what's great about that is people sitting in home office can actually pull up a location and say, oh, I heard we're out of stock of X, and they can actually visually see the club at any time. Yeah.
That's very cool.
That's really interesting, yeah.
Heramb, robots coming in to install Whirlpool appliances? What's happening for you?
Ooh, that'd be scary. I don't know, I would ask all of you, would you guys be okay with opening the door for a robot?
Not so much.
I think from an adoption standpoint, one of the things that we're focusing on is, as we talked about, right, meeting our customers where they expect us, or where it's natural to them to expect us. For example, today when you buy any product, any appliance at a Home Depot, Lowe's, or even D2C, you walk out with a piece of paper, a receipt, or on D2C, you get a notification or something, right? Can we do something more? That is always a black hole once you place an order, is when is that delivery happening? You know, you have no control over it, there's lack of transparency. That could be a time where they could be incentivized to download our app and register and create your profile, because now you can reschedule your delivery, you have a transparency to when it's being delivered, you can learn about your product, learn about what, you know, you just paid $3,000 for something, let's learn about it, and maybe even edit your order or add accessories to it. So there's ways to really show them a clear incentive for downloading the app. And that has to be done at a strategic time in that customer experience journey. So that's something that we're working on right now.
Yeah, and then I'm imagining it's all about that perfect timing, right?
Exactly, yeah, because you know, in the customer experience journey, whoever's done the journey tracking, as you guys know, there's ups and downs of emotions, right? When you're cooking, that's amazing. Cleaning, that's a down. That's the daily interaction journey in the house. But you know, even when you're buying, the discovery phase or the pre-purchase is kind of a pain, because in the appliance industry, it's super hard. The different channels are not consistent when you're trying to shop. Also, across the brands, it's not easy to compare apples to apples, right? So the user is sort of stressed out. But once they've made their decision and they're paying the money, that's a little bit of a, you know, the graph is going up a little bit. They're a little bit happy that, okay, finally I've made a decision. So how can we capitalize on that positive emotion and give them something more to go home with?
Yeah. Alex, I want to come over to you and talk to you. We're talking, you know, these data-driven strategies that all retailers are looking for. The use of AI, we've already been talking about it in our opening keynote. What are you seeing in that space as far as Shako is concerned, and maybe some of the clients that are coming to you with and saying, this is what we really need, and how can we go about it?
I think at this point, a lot of retailers, it's more about how to read through the data versus actually getting it. I think most retailers are inundated with data. I think I want to kind of turn the conversation a little bit. What I'm most excited about in the use of AI is over the last 10 or 15 years, and since mobile has been around, only the likes of Facebook, Google, and like the top tech companies in Silicon Valley have really been able to innovate on applications and release 5, 6, 7 different features at once. Most companies are basically building out a roadmap and then testing out features over a period of a year. I think at Shako, one of the things that we're doing is we are now using our own platform to release features and functions with our clients in a fraction of the time. So our clients could come with a set of data points, or we work with them to get their data points, and we could start building out 4, 5, 6 different features in, again, 85% less time because of AI. And go get those to market and really test those out with users, right? So when do we release the application? How do we control a stove? What are the different things that clients want? Data's telling us that they want this, but can we really bring this to market quickly, right? With mobile applications, with conversational experiences, with immersive experiences, traditionally it's taken a few months to get those to market. And then if it flops, then you have to start all over. But with AI, with app generation platforms, we're able to bring 5, 6, 7 features for the same cost to market and really test those out, much like Facebook's been doing for the last 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah. I want to just pause here and make sure if there are questions, please just raise your hand. David will come with a microphone. We do encourage you to ask questions. Yes, we've got a question over here. Is David here?
It's okay, I can talk loud.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
I have a question. I am not a BJ's member, but I will be soon because I'm moving to where there are BJ's.
Excellent.
I'm really excited about the checkout. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
I'm excited about the checkout to hear about that. Very cool. But how are you using the data that you're getting in to target people like with ads? I'm assuming you are, like ads towards the products that you know that they buy most often. And are you doing it by like family size? Like really, how are you kind of getting granular with that data?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're getting pretty granular. So to your point, we are targeting you not only on what you've shopped for in the past, but also things that we think are complementary as well, right? If we, you know, obviously we know a lot about our member. We know if you're family, right? So we can make recommendations that way. We hope to take it even further, right? And say like, maybe there's a recipe we can push out to you, right? and it gives you exactly the things that you need to buy to get that item. Those are the things that we want to even get more personalized with. So more to come on that, but I hope you enjoy it. Unlike some of our competitors, you can go into a BJ's without being a member just to check it out. So no card required.
Sharon's also marketing.
I was gonna say.
I've got a question over here.
Hi, this question for Sharon. So I'm Tisha Cole, Director of Customer Experience for Kinview. So I represent brands like Neutrogena, Listerine, and so forth. So question about your digital journey and the app that you were speaking of. What can product suppliers like myself do to help advance that for you? Like, are there any technological gaps that are impeding your acceleration? Like, what can we be doing on our end to further assist you with that?
It's a good question. I know what we are doing and partnering with our vendors is around retail media. So we have launched work with that so that we can partner with you and you can actually drive more direct communication to our customers to share more specifics around the type of product. It can filter up and when they're searching, so you'll have more capabilities to do that. So there's a lot of work being done on that. We've increased that quite a bit in the past year.
Couple more questions up here, please. Why don't we go here first? We could probably hear you. Yeah.
My name's Kevin Washington. I'm a director of product experimentation for Best Buy. I was curious are you all partnering with these big box retailers, the Lowe's, the Home Depots, the Best Buys, to figure out, because it's the same thing that you were just talking about, something that we're looking at is, hey, once you're at that high point of the customer experience, how do I capitalize on that and get you more of that distribution information? So have you ever looked at partnerships there?
Absolutely. We work pretty closely, with Best Buy as well, but also with Home Depot, Lowe's. And it has to be a concerted effort, right? Because most of our sales are coming from the retailers. So yeah, there's a lot of partnership that'll happen. Some of the stuff that I just talked about hasn't really picked up yet, right? So in the next year, you'll see, because we're working on some advanced concepts, like we haven't even launched it, we haven't even designed the app. Our app is based on an older architecture from a few years ago. So it will come this year, but there will be partnerships with all of you.
Good question. I know we're coming over here.
Yeah, hi, Sarah Berkowitz. I'm the production director at Cartier's Retail Innovation Lab. And anybody can answer this, but when we talk about AI, I think we also have to talk about data. And when we talk about data, I think, how does use of data affect clients' adoption rate of digital products if brands have not built that kind of goodwill around their data policies in a public way? Are we finding that clients are, less likely to adopt versus ones that are more transparent in how they're using your data and what they're collecting? We'd love to hear any of your experiences on that.
Who'd like to jump in?
I can start.
Yeah, please.
I think it comes down to a couple of things. Of course, building trust is important, and certain brands have done a great job over the years of building trust. And certain others have, taken some falls and they're, rebuilding it, right? VW as an example in automotive. At this point, I think what it comes down to is having that two-way street, right? If you're giving data, are you getting enough in return? And as we noticed in the previous keynote, is people are also more adventurous, like the newer generation, millennials, Gen Zs, and so on, they're not really that brand loyal. If they see a better value elsewhere, they'll try it out, right? So how do we make sure that that exchange of value is really evident to the user?
Sharon, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I was going to say you're spot on with the trust piece, right? And I think, at least from our perspective at BJ's, right? I mean, that's the whole point of us getting loyalty, right? We want you to be a member, right? There's an incentive. You're actually joining a club. And so we have to be equally trustworthy with the information that you're sharing. And so I think that's something that's definitely at the forefront of the work that we're doing.
Alex, please.
Yeah, so I was just, I was going to agree with both of you and just add one more thing. So In our experience, most users are not going to actually see or even look at what you're doing with the data. It's really about the value that you're giving them back. Obviously, you have to be transparent with that, and that's kind of the baseline. But it's what value do I get out of this? The second thing that we're working with our clients on is really change management. As we start rolling out AI conversational experiences, which is what most of us are talking about, it's really about the change management. Like, do you have a team that's testing the conversations? Do you have a team that's tracking them? We've seen a lot of things in the news now that people have rolled out AI without really testing it. And then they're like, oops, let's pull that back, and that was a bad experience. But as our clients roll out AI, it's really about having a team behind that and making sure that you're training, you're fine-tuning, you're correcting issues with the model, and really having a good change management plan, and then making sure that you understand the value that you're giving back to clients, right? Because you could roll this out in web, app, text, really any sort of, even with customer support. But again, what value are you giving back? Do you have a change management plan? And then the baseline is transparency, right? What are you doing with that data? I don't think a lot of our clients, I won't say that. I think there are too many instances where even people that are rolling out don't know where that data is actually being stored or how it's being used. So I think that's an internal situation, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Other questions? Good. Oh, we got one in the back. Please. Please. The mic's on the way.
Hi, my name is Mark. Aldo Shoes. Question for Sharon and maybe for Alex as well. Tally, I think was the name of the robot, right? That goes up and down. Is that RFID based, so radio frequency identifier, like in the label base? Is that how it's counting the products? Is it scanning RFIDs?
No, it's actually, well, it's scanning the label, the barcodes that are on the actual
The shelf.
shelving that we have. Yeah, I couldn't, yeah.
Gotcha,
So,
and counting the product that way as well.
exactly.
But
Yep.
how does it know, like, the box behind the box?
I believe it's, the way we have our stuff, we're completely stacked, right? Like, so you think of it, stuff comes out, it's not like we're individually putting one item on a shelf.
Gotcha.
And so it's able to actually see that piece of it and count
Gotcha.
that part. Yep.
And then, given that it's not that, and then maybe Alex, in terms of RFID from a store experience perspective, a customer experience, a store experience perspective, slam dunk, no brainer, it's very value added, or be cautious with the business case. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
I think it depends on the cost of the product, right? So RFID tags are coming down, and you need a specific reader for those RFID tags. So it's be cautious. I mean, if you have a more expensive product or a pallet, for example, then an RFID makes sense because of the cost of the product. But you also have to understand what you're working for. In the case of robots, you could have an RFID scanner. If you have employees with a phone, then you have to account for one, and there's a distance. So I think it really depends. It's not a slam dunk. It just really depends on the experience you're looking to create for your associates.
Thanks for your question. Any other questions? Please, if you do have one, raise your hand. We'll get you the microphone and get that question answered. All right, I want to come back and Heramb, I don't think we heard from Sharon about some of the things that she's excited about. Maybe we could have you tell us a little bit more about what's on the journey ahead for you at Whirlpool. What are you excited maybe to implement, or maybe some of those challenges that you came here to solve to get those implementations, those transformations across the finish line?
It's a lot of fun stuff happening. Not everything I can talk about from
Sure.
a product innovation standpoint. But from a consumer journey standpoint, as I was talking about, how do we make sure that we're bringing our consumer journey closer to the natural human behavior and getting that adoption in a more natural way versus more forced. So getting everyone to sort of create their profile and then begin that consumer 360 experience with each one of our consumers and giving them that tailored experience would be something that we'll be focusing on in the next 12 months.
I'm imagining that you are going to be an integral part of the smart homes, right?
Absolutely.
Building these smart homes. And talk to us about that, because I'm fascinated with that. I mean, everything's going to be controlled, through an app or, on the wall there.
That's a fascinating topic. And I like how this panel is touching on different touch points of the consumer journey. It's amazing. So we call the next generation internally of the smart home intuitive home. today's smart home is very rule-based. It's very, you set up the logic and it's going to respond to it, right? The future is more proactive, learning about the families, learning about your preferences. The home will adapt to you and cater to your needs while keeping you safe. And, of course, trust is a big question there, because you can imagine all of the devices communicating to the cloud about the information and behavior. So you have to have all these brands that are collaborating together be trustworthy. There is a Matter consortium that was launched a couple of years ago. So what's happening is there's a common language, common vocabulary that all these electronic gadgets are going to be talking through. So it's going to be easier for you to set up your schedules and set up your connectivity mapping within the home. And that's going to really be an enabler for new experiences that we may not have really thought of in the past to happen. And today, it's only the advanced user that's really going through that effort of connecting everything. Sunset, lights dim, song starts, or your blinds come down. It's not even 50% of not even close. It's very, a small amount. But we can see that adoption growing as the onboarding and connectivity gets simpler for every user.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reminded of, probably about 7 or 8 years ago when you walked into the airport restroom and there was no handles, right? And it was like, oh, this is great, but you're, waiting for the water to come out. But I just was reminded of that, how far we've come, right? In those 7 or 8 years, have seen these, things, no hand required on a knob or anything like that. So I think a lot of exciting things are happening in that space. So thank you for that, Heramb.
And it's not gonna be without bumpy roads.
Yeah,
There's definitely gonna be mishaps, and yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be.
We'll learn from it. That's the beauty of AI, is we learn from our mistakes. And
that's right. Right. As I mentioned in the beginning, the digital transformation, failure is going to occur, and you got to pick yourself up and learn from your mistakes and keep on with that journey. So I know that'll be a common theme that we'll be discussing the next couple of days. Alex, what are you excited about what's coming up for you at Shaco? What's getting your creative juices flowing at Shaco?
I think exactly what you said. I think we're bringing the digital experience close to that physical need. There's two things. I guess I want to leave people with two conversations for tonight. The first thing is, think about 3 brands you love, right? Pick one, BJ's or Nordstrom or whatever, or KitchenAid. And in the tables tonight, start talking about what it is that you love about that brand. Like, what's the experience that has connected you to that brand over the last 15, 20 years? And then start talking about that digital experience. And I think that's where you'll be like, well, it looks like everybody else, right? Like, or, I wish they did this. And what I'm most excited about is that third part of the conversation is transforming so quickly, because we're so quickly getting to the point where that I wish is actually becoming reality. I think in the case in point in Matter is going to connect so many different, I think there's going to be 1 trillion devices connected over the next 10 years. It's insane to think about all that data, and as humans, we can't process that.
Right. So
AI is going to do for lack of better, a regression analysis on our behavior, so it could predict those patterns moving forward, and I think that's going to be so cool. So I'll leave it with that. So have that conversation at night. It's a really cool conversation to have. Absolutely. And that third piece is what will really get everybody's juices flowing for today, tomorrow, and the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharon? Some final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about some of the additional work we're going to be doing with data, not just customer data, but just internally how we can better use AI for predictability in particular. Part of my team focuses on trying to predict sales by store, by day. So just being able to do a better job at how we can help our, internally be able to figure out what product needs to be where and when. And I'm really excited about what possibilities exist with that. But I do hope everyone checks out the app.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much to our panelists for coming up and sharing what's working, what's not working, what excites you. We really appreciate it. And a round of applause for our panelists coming up and sharing what they know.
Thanks, guys.